What's going on, traders? Andrew O'Connell here with Pristine Capital, coming at you with yet another market recap video. It is April 4th of 2022. Before we get started, please go ahead and click the like button on this video. Also subscribe to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the price action in the indices. We're going to go through my trades for the day. Before we do that, quick risk disclaimer: nothing in the video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan and your own risk parameters. And last but certainly not least, do not YOLO your entire account to any one of my trades, your trades, or anyone's trades for that matter. All right, we had for our box scores today, S&P 500 finishing up 0.86%, closing at the very top end of the daily range. We have the Nasdaq QQQ finishing up 2.06%. IWM small caps were a big laggard for the day. They were up only 0.16%. Dogs of the Dow up 0.35%. And the ARK Innovation ETF was our big winner for today, up 4.38%. Everything closed towards the upper end of its range. You can see the IWM was definitely the weakest. We did have a huge volatility crush across the board, and the breadth was pretty interesting. When the market first opened up this morning, we had pretty weak breadth, even though the market was showing a small advance. The small caps, they had like 30% advancers. The S&P 500 only had about 30. It was looking like a pretty mixed picture, but throughout the day, the market rallied and the breadth started turning positive. My trend model flipped. At the beginning of today, it was at a -1, and it flipped all the way back to +3. So I did take off my hedges that I had in place because I want to make sure that I'm trading in accordance with my model. Finviz heat map. Take a look at this action. This was pretty wonky. So for me, as I saw my trend model start to flip, I was like, but we're seeing all these weird divergences. Like, the breadth looks awful. This is so strange. So I waited until the end of the day. Hey, let's see if we get a strong close. And we did end up getting a strong close. But what you'll notice is we had a small number of stocks that were really driving the market higher. So we had Apple up 2.37%. Tesla was up 5.61%. We did get some news today that Elon Musk acquired a 9.2% stake in Twitter. And that sent Twitter up maybe like 25% today. Pretty phenomenal gains for Twitter shareholders. Netflix was up 4.83%. But interestingly enough, a lot of these exposures that have been working for the last 3 to 6 months, the value stocks, the stocks trading at lower valuations, those stocks were all very weak today. And energy, even though crude oil was trading positive, the energy stocks were pretty weak. They only flipped, to basically flat on the day at the end of the session. So a very mixed tape, and it does look like there was a lot of rotation going on under the surface. So let's check it out here. We had, and this is important, we have new momentum leaders. Over the past couple months, it's been like, all right, gold miners are leading us higher, utilities leading us higher, and like materials leading us higher. Now we have a much more risk-on configuration here. The ARK Genomics Fund is in our top slot. The ARK Innovation ETF is next, and the ARK Next Gen Internet ETF is the third. So it's literally all ARK funds that are showing the highest momentum. We have solar energy, of course. This has been a group that has been showing strong momentum ever since the Russia and Ukraine conflict. We have biotech, finished up 3%. We had the FinTech Fund up 4.27%. Let's take a look at what else we had. Gold miners were down on the session. Real estate, which everyone was using as a safe haven, also down on the session. Utilities down on the session. What else do we have here? Industrials down, financials down, transports down, regional banks down. So yeah, it seems like a lot of the more aggressive areas of the market, like this Spider Innovative Tech ETF, was up 4.07%. KWeb, Chinese internet names, up 7.65%. So what we have to remember is that the growth stocks and the innovation stocks, they peaked in February of 2021. So they've essentially been in a bear market for over a year now. And so it seems odd that these groups are starting to rip higher. But in the context of, hey, they've been sniffing out this bear market for a long time, they've been in downtrends, we have to just trust the price action. The worst thing that you can do is try to deny the price action and be like, well, I don't believe it, I'm going to fade it. If there's money flowing into those groups, it is flowing into those groups for a reason. We had the growth ETF up 1.78%, momentum ETF up 1.1%, and the high beta ETF up 1.79%. Worst performers, We had high div, low vol underperforming, defensives underperforming, cyclicals, and value. So a complete rotation out of the groups that have been working the best for the past few months. And let's take a look as well. We have our seasonality, of course. This is seasonally. Now we're in April. This is the strongest month seasonally. I think this is another factor that market participants might be overlooking a little bit. Everyone is like, but the economy is so bad, you know, inflation's so bad, whatever. But yeah, this is, if you're trying to play to the bearish side, it's a tough month to do that and have success. Let's take a look here. So some things that I thought were strange, like crude oil, for instance. So you can see crude put in a nice big green candle, but the XLE ETF, this one put in a red candle. So to me, it seems like the market, like the stock market, is basically saying, hey, inflation expectations are peaking. Because you'll notice the groups that did not do so well, and pretty much every stock closed on the highs. CF, this was still green, but look at the cluster of red candles this has been putting in. This was like one of the inflation haven super stocks. I would not be surprised if CF and this entire group starts failing below some key moving averages. We had Alcoa. This name, yeah, also basically putting in a doji candle while the market is green. A lot of these more defensive stocks. This Hostess Brands, TWNK, looked like it was breaking out, basically had like a false breakout here. So yeah, a lot of rotation out of those popular groups. Let's take a look at our S&P 500. S&P 500. So again, remember when my trend model flipped, this entire time I'm like, hey, you know, the market's pretty overbought. We did get a 3-day pullback. And now this 20-day moving average is starting to catch up to price. It's not there. We could still get a pullback down to the 20-day moving average. But again, I want to make sure that I'm following my process. We got our 3-day pullback, and now today we got the bounce. We finished above the 5-day EMA. We had another strong dark index print. So check this out. Our dark index came in at, it came in at 48%. So we're still seeing that dark pool accumulation. And let's take a look at our hourly chart. Hourly chart shows us, yeah, we're trading above the weekly points of control. Now, the strange thing is, like, when the trend model flips, I want to make sure I'm aligned with it, etc. Because historically, the odds are in my favor when my trend model is positive. Now, the leap of faith here is, does that mean, oh, the market is certainly going to go up, whatever? No, the market could literally just flop tomorrow off like a headline. Or, oh my gosh, now suddenly everyone cares about the rate hikes and the inflation and whatever. But for me, I want to make sure that I am, you know, really just aligned with this trend. So what I did do today, I took off my SPY hedges. I closed on my April 14th 450 puts that I had on for 217. I had paid 770 for those. And I also closed out my SPY May 20th 440 puts as well. I did end up opening some Bitcoin calls. So I entered into this BITO June 17th, 28 calls with 3-star positions. This is more of a core position for me. And take a look here. So if we look at our Bitcoin, I thought this could be an opportune moment, because what I want to do is, hey, my trend model flipped positive. That doesn't mean like in one day I want to just layer on like a ton of positions, because what if this is like the sentiment top? You know, I certainly don't know that for sure. Bitcoin, I noticed, was pretty weak throughout most of the session. But as we neared the close, Bitcoin got a little bit stronger. And you can see we're no longer as extended away from that 20-day simple moving average anymore. And even after the equity market closed, we're getting a continued rally in Bitcoin. And this BITO, this is the Bitcoin Futures ETF. You can see this one had a pullback for a few days. After gapping higher, we filled that gap, and we'll see, maybe this is where we start to bounce higher. Let's take a look here. And if we pull up even, yeah, we pull up the BITO here, I wanted to take something that wasn't like, you know, overbought. So I was like, okay, Bitcoin has nice momentum. We got this pullback essentially to this monthly value area high. But let's take a look. As the market is rotating, let's check out some areas of the market that are doing pretty well. So solar stocks. I am currently long Sedge, and that's giving me exposure to this group. Solar stocks broke out above their monthly value area high, and Sedge specifically, this one just continues to build out the price action. You can see we're above the monthly value area high here as well. We have a VPOC up at $354. Some other areas I'm noticing, biotech up 3%. This is breaking out. Again, we have so many reasons to be negative on the market. I want to make sure that I'm being guided by the price action of the stocks. And biotech, hey, we are getting a breakout. KWeb also, these Chinese internet names, definitely going to have a few of these on the watch list for tomorrow. Our KWeb ETF closed above this monthly value area high, and we did get a headline saying that these Chinese regulators, they're going to be working with the SEC, basically the United States regulators, to make sure that they have transparent information on these Chinese companies that are listed in the United States. That's a huge win, because the primary concern for these Chinese stocks is they're going to get delisted. So could we get up to this VPOC up here at 36 bucks? Certainly. So yeah, a lot of stocks are really setting up here. Oh, Jumia. This one, they reported a partnership with UPS. And take a look here. We took out this VPOC up here around like $12.31. And look at the relative volume here. So this really says a lot. There were a lot of players that were jumping into this name. Because keep in mind, with these growth stocks, if we're starting to see a rotation back into this group, so many of these stocks are just completely washed out. If money's flowing into the group as a whole, and then there's something that makes investors believe, hey, the fundamentals could be getting better in a specific name, that name could really fly. This name Jumia has like a 17% short float, and the entire float is only about 80 million shares. So if a bunch of institutions want to get into this name, it's going to take them a while to do that. So Jumia, this is a concept I really want to drill in terms of trend following. You might look at this and be like, darn, I missed the whole move. What the heck? It's up 24%. But this is, granted, it's day one. So again, these institutions, if they want to get in, it's going to take them a while. So I wouldn't be discouraged if you miss day one. There's so much money that is lost in trying to catch day one of the upside or the downside. It's much more important to try to catch the beat of the trend. So we had Jumia. What else was breaking out? We had Global E. This name was up 5.92%, trading right up to the top of value. Definitely going to be another one that I'm watching tomorrow. We had Unity Software up almost 10%, also breaking out of value. So there's so many names to choose from within this growth side. So that is why I went ahead, closed out those hedges, because hey, what I'm seeing is leading to me to believe I might not want to be hedged here. Let's take a look at the Qs, and we'll look at the Nasdaq before we break here. So we have Nasdaq. Yeah, this closed just a smidge above the 200-day moving average. So Nasdaq also looking pretty strong. Let's take a look at Apple and Tesla before we break. Apple, look at this. Let's pull up the weekly chart. Apple reports earnings in a few weeks. It's reporting on the 25th. This thing is trading so darn close to the all-time highs now. Could Apple break out? Certainly could happen. I mean, you just can't deny what's going on with this price action of these underlying stocks. Same thing with Tesla. Tesla was up 5.61%. This thing, is it overbought? Yeah, definitely overbought. But this thing is at this point trading so close to the prior all-time highs. So yeah, definitely some interesting price action. Oh yeah, the small caps really just did not participate. So what could end up being the case, this is just, some thoughts on the market. If investors believe that the economy is slowing and inflation is peaking, what would they do? I would think they're going to sell all these inflation sensitive stocks, which we're starting to see, and they're going to rotate into the high growth stocks, which is what we're literally starting to see now. So who knows if this is true or not, but this is really what it looks like the market is starting to factor in. So that about does it for this market recap video. Hope you all had an awesome trading session. I'm really curious to see how tomorrow plays out. I will see you all tomorrow evening.